I welcome you all to the Crypto Singh Show. My name is Gunpreet Singh and we talk about cryptocurrencies, NFTs, metaverse, everything related to the crypto market, what's new, what's old, what's going to happen on this channel every single day. I welcome you all to the show and today we're going to talk something different. It is related to Bitcoin, it is related to how this money came up, it is related to whoever is watching this video, it's related to everyone, but it is something that not everyone will tell you about this, which is, I'm sure you all know, but this is about financial freedom. Now, what do I mean by financial freedom? It has everything related to corruption, to inflation, to everything that's been going on in the world, be it the Sri Lankan crisis, be it any crisis that's been going on. I mean, we have to understand what this financial freedom is all about. Well, so many of you or so many of us have been asking this question that the Bitcoin dipped and the market is in a bad shape. It's a bear market. Should we pull the money out, or what's happening with the market? The cryptos have crashed down. Well, I totally understand. Markets are volatile. Markets have gone down. Bitcoin is going down. Ethereum is going down. It's gone down already. It's been low from its all-time highs. But what's happening with the market? Well, I mean, if you think you know about the financial freedom, this is the question I really want you to ask yourself. You've questioned Bitcoin, but have you actually questioned what's happening with things around you? What's happening with your currency? What's happening with all the prices of your vegetables? What's happening with all the prices of your land? Well, if you've not questioned yourself, then you've really not thought about financial freedom. So then you've just been thinking about negative news that the news would just type into. They would just tell you about Bitcoin going down. But let's understand what this financial freedom is all about. So, financial freedom is something that, I mean, we all give our money. It's all, the government takes the taxpayers' money. And what do they do with it? Is nothing. They literally, it goes out into corruption, it goes out into, be it any government. I am not here saying, or I'm not against any particular government. I'm generally saying about the entire world, how the political scenario works, and how these are the things that are not taught to us in the school. I mean, this is financial freedom should be a subject in the school itself, which none of us have been ever taught. Now, we have to understand what financial freedom is. It's about, let's say, I mean, what does the government actually do? Well, the government will collect the taxpayers' money, spend it, but now the problem is when they're spending for elections, for anything, for construction of roads, for construction of anything, what happens is that that's not enough for them. So what do? They call their central banks, or they call their central government organizations, and they ask for the loan. And how do the governments get a loan? Simple. Print a machine on and they start printing the notes. Now what happens with the notes? Now the more it devaluates the currency. I mean, the more amount of notes, it would devaluate the currency. We have to understand what's been happening, how the rich is being richer and the poor is being poorer, and the middle class will be wiped out. So stay tuned till the end. I'm going to explain you. This is a very important subject I wanted to talk all about. So financial freedom is something that we all need to know about this. I mean, we all do look into our finances, but not the financial freedom. So, I mean, looking into finances is very different from looking into financial freedom. Now, let's say the governments have been printing money. The governments have been losing out on, the control of any kind of economic stability. Now, as you see in Sri Lanka, what exactly is it? Is it a political rivalry? Of course not. It's all about the economic instability that has been happening in the country. The people are getting, poor is getting poorer. Now, what is happening is the governments are printing money, they're spending the money. Now, you have to realize how these things work. The government first takes the money, which is the taxpayer money, then they ask the central organizations to print the money, and then they take loan on it, and then they spend that money, but they don't spend it in an efficient way. So if you have a company tomorrow and there's someone handling your company and he doesn't spend in an efficient way, what are you going to do? Probably change the person there. But just try to understand, the governments have been doing this for over the years. There's nothing that is efficiently done. And we all know that the corruption is high. Now, what happens in elections, what happens in making of the infrastructure of the country is that it's your money, it's our money that goes in. What happened in COVID was probably something that completely changed, I think, the economic scenario of the world. Well, saying that, yes, the US government actually started buying the corporate bonds for the first time ever in their history. And it's huge, it's crazy. Why? I mean, the government's buying corporate bonds is not something that you would have heard of. Now, what happened is that these institutions, they needed money. They were out of the money in COVID. Now, there was no production. And I'm talking about inflation, I'm talking about the entire economy. So try to understand this. So what had happened is that there was no production. Now, the companies were left with no production. So the government said, you know what, don't worry, we're going to buy the corporate bonds. And what happened is that they also started giving out these loans to these companies. Now, what happened with these loans? Well, all the companies got loan rich, not money rich. They got loan rich. They started spending. The product started to, there were more product coming in the market. But now what had happened is, if they get loan rich, it's not their money. Now they started spending, the corporate started spending, some of the retail went and they spent the money into, brands, they bought luxury stuff, which now they don't have money to repay. Now, eventually what had happened, try and understand, the government gave the money to these companies started working, and what eventually happened is they didn't give a rise to your salaries. So they didn't give a rise to the middle class in the salaries, but eventually the product price increased. Now, why did the product price increase? Is because the money they printed has depreciated. Now, if that depreciates, that causes the product to increase in value, because no more the money holds that value that it used to be. So if we all had one paper note, just one note with the entire world, that would have been more valuable. Now let's say if we have two papers, that's going to be less valuable. If we get three papers, it's going to be less valuable. So the more you print, the less valuable it becomes. Now what has this led to? Now this has led to some of the firms or the bigger institutions investing into real estate, because you were giving loans, the governments were giving loan in 2-3%. Now what they did is they invested in real estate. They didn't invest in the salary increase. Now what did that happen? After that what happened? The prices of the real estate increased. So for you, buying the house became difficult. Now, because of the money getting devaluated, because of the US dollar getting devaluated, your money getting devaluated, what you have to go through is supply crisis. Now, whatever you name it as, supply crises have happened because of the devaluation of the currencies, because the money has completely devaluated. So all of these things led to inflation. Now, we do talk about Bitcoin drastically reducing to 20,000 or around 21,000. But have you actually imagined, or have you actually thought about your money being devaluated for past 5 or 6 months? If you were actually holding the currency, you almost down by 50-60% as it is. I mean, here we know the Bitcoin will bounce back. I don't know how much the prices would come down again. I don't know when will a common man be able to buy the house again. But you know that the Bitcoin price will rise eventually, because it's not corrupted, it's not devaluated. Look what's happening in China. I mean, their banks have closed the withdrawals. It's a huge bank, closed the withdrawals of the people. Now, the media doesn't highlight these things. So if a bank can close your withdrawals tomorrow, that's just happened with China. Sri Lanka, you know the crisis, what's happening. I mean, people are running for their money. They don't have anything. So what is eventually happening is that the poor is getting poorer and the rich is getting richer. Now rich, why is it rich getting? Because they're smart. They know that we need to invest into real estate. They know we need to invest into gold. They know we need to invest into Bitcoin. And this will eventually give rise to something and not keep the currency into, not keep the money into the currency or fiat currency. So eventually if you've questioned that Bitcoin has come down, well then you should be questioning that how, I mean, if with inflation you've already gone 40, 50, 60% down as it is. Plus your money has devaluated. So from what you could have bought about before COVID and what you can buy now, you're already devaluated. So there's nothing that you've increased by keeping your money or by not investing your money. Real estate has increased. Any asset class has increased. Yes, Bitcoin is in a turmoil and this eventually is a volatile market. Eventually Bitcoin will again go back because the entire point of Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. Now this is what again it means, that it's not controlled by any third organization. Now the banks have given loan out to the people. Now do you think that 300, 1000 or 12,000 or 20,000 crores, all these loans that have been given to people or to companies, to corporates, would they come back? Of course not. Now when they give out these loans to these corporates, what happens is the companies get the money and their share rises as well. So eventually what is happening is it's getting more expensive. The salaries aren't increasing. I mean, if someone tells you that a salary has increased, well, that's just a mind thing, because in general your overall value has decreased. So salary increment has the least to do, I mean, there's no proportionate percentage with the inflation that's happening. Inflation is happening at the percentage of about 10% a month, 7% a month kind of a thing, whereas the salary increase is happening 7%, 6% a year. So there's a huge gap in that. Now what is happening is, for the companies, their shares are increasing. The valuation of the companies are increasing. So the rich is getting richer. They've invested into real estate. If you eat McDonald's today, don't think McDonald's has anything to do with burger. Of course they have everything to do with burger, but the main business is real estate. And McDonald's real business is not about burgers. It's about real estate. They're smart. They know what they're doing. So eventually what governments are going to do is going to tax you more, because what loans they've given out, how do you think they are going to cover these loans out? Easy, tax the general people. This is where financial freedom comes into play. So what are we going to do eventually is pay the government those taxes for something that they've never done well. I mean, they say that in a place like India, if you would have made roads in past 50 years of gold, we would have still spent less than what we do or what we've spent over the years. So you have to understand the process of financial freedom. Everyone is questioning Bitcoin valuation coming down. Nobody questions inflation going up. Your petrol price is going more than 50%, more than 100% up. You don't question your everything around you getting more expensive. And so just try to imagine that how these things are coming about, and what will eventually happen. You will be taxed more. I mean, we'll be taxed more. And you can see that the taxes would come into play now. The taxes would start increasing because the government needs to fulfill that money or that pot that's been left empty, because they've spent all and they've not spent in an efficient way. They've spent in an inefficient way. When you hear someone giving free electricity, free water, spending on campaigning on elections, try and understand it's your money that's going. It has nothing to do with them, and it will never have anything to do with them. It's again your money. What happens is they increase the prices and the valuation of your currency is going on, and the increment of the goods is going on. So try and understand. One side the value is decreasing of the currency, and one side the prices of the other product is increasing. So you are actually losing out way more than you think you're actually earning. But because Bitcoin price is something that is relatable, that you can understand on a TV, on a computer, on a laptop, on a phone, and understand that it was 30,000 yesterday, it went to 20,000 yes and today. So you know that, that's a kind of a it's in your mind that it has reduced, the figures. But this is a silent kind of economic crisis that's started. And try and understand, try look around you. Haven't the prices increased? And has your earning increased? Or has your earnings decreased? Has the land increased? Has the gold increased? Has your assets increased? Has your petrol increased? Then what have you done? What you've done by not investing into assets is decrease your money. Well, saying that Bitcoin was 20,000 is 20,000 today, but 3 months, 4 months back, it was 70,000. So let's also look at the gains it's given everyone. So we do question Bitcoin, we do question these things, but try and understand that it's not Bitcoin you gotta question, it's the financial freedom that needs to be questioned and that needs to be learned, which they don't teach you in school, how to manage financial freedom. It's always better to buy into equity. You have to understand, equity is probably the best way to buy something. Equity means you're buying a share of that company. Any company in stock market, equity is better to buy because at least you have a share in the company, and the rich will get richer and the poor will get poorer. Middle class will be washed out. So this is what is happening around the world. And now again, money will be printed. It would be given to the corporates at a lower rates, and they'll have their products again working. They'll have their product, the valuation of these companies going up. Even when there was no production, the valuation of the company started rising because there was so much money pumped into the companies. And what would retail do? Probably just out of that loan, they would buy themselves daily essentials. They would buy themselves something that they require daily to eat, to drink, to whatever. But it's where they're going to spend that money because they will not be left with any more money. What happened in COVID? Everyone lost their job. The loans were given, but loans for them were given and to be used into what? To buy their daily essentials because they had no job left. But for the companies, they got a restructuring. They got money into it at around 2%, 3%, 4%, 5%. In a country where the interest rates are higher, like 10%, 11%, there they got it about 6, 7%. So what eventually happened? They were really losing out. I mean, the people who were working as salaried started losing out. But the companies in general started gaining. So the rich became richer, the poor became poorer. The governments will not stop printing the money. The governments will not stop spending the money in an inefficient way. And these things will lead to financial crisis, which is easily seen in Sri Lanka, what's happening. So that is exactly what is happening around the world. And it will not be far when it would be around us. China, I mean, the bank has stopped withdrawal. Nobody talks about banks stopping withdrawal. Tomorrow, any bank can actually stop your withdrawal. Even if you have your money into the bank, it does not matter. If the bank runs out of money, there's nothing that the banks can actually do. So the governments won't support that because they don't have the money. The governments themselves don't have the money. So what else would happen? Just print the money and start printing the meter, switch on the machine, start printing the money. And this is what financial freedom is all about. Try and understand where to invest, how to invest. And it's not the Bitcoin price has gone down, but it's probably the time for you to invest because the Bitcoin prices are down. It's an opportunity you're getting. Everything else has increased. Your entire valuation has gone down. So this is what financial freedom is, and this is what I wanted to explain everyone. And thank you for tuning into the show. Thank you for watching. Do like, share and subscribe if you like the content. Take care. Signing off, Gurpreet Singh from the Crypto Singh Show.